Welcome to Muslim Apologetics Australia. In this video, we're going to be discussing the historical evidence of Jesus dying on the cross. Christians bring up this argument, and it's really nonsensical and unbelievable that they make such inconsistent arguments regarding the historical evidence for Jesus and his crucifixion. Carlos Andreas Pico, as you can see in the text, made a massive blunder of an argument, and when he realized the argument actually backfired upon that particular argument, he actually started trolling in the text, and that's basically what he did to leave the conversation. So basically, here is the argument. He says, evidence disproving their assertion. He says, you mean like there is overwhelming evidence that proves that Jesus did in fact die on the cross, making virtually all historians on the planet believe it except mainly Muslims. So Muslims are the unbiased ones here. Let's be real. Majority of the Christians and Muslims are biased, which is why we should remove our biases. So basically his argument is as follows, and I've heard many Christian apologists make the same argument, saying that unbiased people, these are non-Christians that have made historical testifications that Jesus died on the cross. So a Christian now appeals to historians to prove the truth and fact of Christianity. So here is a response. I said, all those same historians, non-biased, I bet do not believe Jesus turned water into wine, nor a resurrected Christ. How come Christians are the only ones claiming this, as even historians? That is because they are miracles. Similarly, when Allah rescued Jesus from the cross, it was by a miracle intervention. Thus, historians do not follow divine miracles, for why you won't get a historian to testify the Muslim position. Although there are Gnostic writings that most likely testify to the Muslim position that Jesus didn't die and he was saved, you can even read the Gnostic of Peter. But I'm not going to do that. I'm still going to show you that I don't need to rely on the Gnostic writings. I can actually prove that this argument can actually backfire. Have a listen. Basically, historians do not believe in attested miracles. They just don't do that. So regardless if they're biased or non-biased historians, they will tend to just look at evidence for face value. They don't look at miracles. So that's basically why you can't just use a historian to try and attest a miracle. It just doesn't make sense. So why would a Christian try and ask for a historical evidence of a miracle where Allah saved Jesus from the cross? It doesn't make sense, because this was a miracle intervention that only God showed Jesus, and Jesus actually was rescued from a cross through a miracle intervention, and no one else is supposed to see that. So how do you actually prove that through a historical perspective? You can't, except for divine revelation and what that says. Same as when Jesus rose from the cross, apparently rose from the dead, or when Jesus turned water into wine. You can't actually historically prove that from non-Christian sources. This is only a testification and miracle for that point of time. So if we use the Christian standard of premise of argument by relying on historians, Paul said, according to the Bible, if Christ has not risen, then your faith is in vain. So Christians need to prove that Jesus rose from the dead. In fact, Jesus said in the Bible that after 3 days, apparently this is according to Christians, that after he dies, after 3 days he will rise. So if Christians can't historically prove it from non-biased, non-Christian sources that Jesus rose, and if they can't prove that from the historical sources of non-biased non-Christians, then that prophecy is false. So that means Christianity is false, right? Because that's exactly what a Christian is trying to force upon the Muslim. That particular standard, that Islam is false, because there are testifications from historians who are non-Muslim or non-Christians who actually testify that Jesus died on the cross. Okay, fair enough, we'll accept that. But now you need to accept the same standard when it comes to Jesus rising, because that is the pinnacle of your faith. Paul said, without the resurrection, if Christ hasn't risen, then your faith is in vain, is a lie, it's nonsense, it's wrong, right? So you need to now prove it. So let's see if you can prove that logic. So notice when the Christian gets stumped on this question, he actually says that he does not want to continue this conversation. As you can see in the text, Carlos Andreas does not want to continue this discussion in the text. And he even says, I'm off peace. So as you can see, he does not want to continue this discussion. And I said to him, do not use David Wood or Sam Shimon or Jonathan or Mike's arguments. They're nonsensical arguments here. It's embarrassing and it's nonsensical and it's outdated. And I asked him, please tell your Christian apologists to update their databases and please do not bring nonsense here. And then he tells us whatever floats our boat and so forth. So there you go. These are Christian apologists making bad arguments that completely backfire in their own faces. Goodbye and good day.